Check out this eye retina, eye burning orange from the late 80s, early 90s classic Serotta. Yes, this is a classic. We're going to do some upgrades to fit it to a little better fitting for a cockpit versus race position for the modern day rider, enduro riding, and add some other little bits to it. So with my 35 years of experience, we're going to make this thing rock like a classic, like it was before. It's been sitting in the garage for the last 25, 30 years. Let's take a look after this. Hey, welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, Hang with the Guy. Hey, I'm Justin the Guy, and this is a repair upgrade. So we're putting on newer bars. We're going to do a new comfortable saddle versus the one that's on there. And in addition to, we're going to do a conversion of a stem from quill to a headset. So with those particular parts being swapped out and some new rubber, or new to him rubber, and we're going to go from there. So what we are looking at is a classic steel. I don't think it's titanium, made in the United States with Columbus tubing fork, which might be the rest of the bike. That's if they made the forks themselves. Kind of looks like it because the gusseting and the detail work kind of matches the frame. So there's a good chance that they built both of them together in one. And this also has the classic Shimano 600, which is the predecessor of the old Tegra componentry. This does have, what, a 7-speed in the back, down tube shifters, and your classic brake levers. This has more of a Cicelli parts on it. It did have upgrade carbon seat post and seat at one point, but the ugly part of the garage affected bike is sometimes they get, I don't know, spray painted. You know, when you spray paint something in the garage to make something pretty, like a chair or a house or whatever, little dollhouse or whatever you do, little, craft projects in your garage, or even when you're touching up your car or what have you, that little fumes get onto other things in your garage. It's best to do that kind of stuff outside or a well-ventilated, taped off, plastic wrapped area. But in any case, this particular guy needs to be cleaned off. We're going to use a couple different treatments. We're going to try the carb cleaner to lift it off there, maybe not too much because we don't want to pull the paint or any decals. We're going to try the WD-40 trick, which I have to go in the garage, or I have to go in the shed and find my WD-40 because it doesn't belong on the wall tool here. It's a displacement. It does not actually lube. So keep in mind with the WD-40, except for the WD-40 that is designed specifically for chain lube. And it does have, oh, just like that manly Old Spice smell of bike mechanics. Oddly enough, weird. It has some weird aroma to it. In any case, this particular one's a double, the 7, so that's 14 speeds. I pre-treated the bolts on it with a little bit of a Bike Aid. The reason being I use Bike Aid, which is a graphite kind of liquid, to kind of seep into all those possibly rusted out little areas, because those areas need a little help to extract those bolts without getting seized in there. So with a couple, bottle mount bolts, sometimes the brakes, any kind of case in this, I don't want any of the paint on this to flake off of the age. And if it's really stuck on there, I want to have that kind of a barrier to kind of break it free so that doesn't actually damage any of the paint that's already. A little bit of light fading already on this. So what we're going to do is a high level detail using Adam polishes. Going to use the scratch and swirl compound and the polish. Once we get the frame completely immaculate, we're going to clean it off, and then we're going to use ceramic slam from lithium to give it a nice ceramic coating. We'll probably do a 3-stack, which will enable the paint to be protected against the UV rays as well as dirt and grime and all other things. We are going to clean all the original parts off to the most part. I think underneath all this grime, we're going to find themselves to be pretty much, immaculate. Why immaculate? Well, I don't think it got ridden very much. In addition to, it just has like that, farmer garage or farmhouse garage fuzz on it. If you ever grew up on a farm, you had like that shed or whatever, they put all the little tools on there, and you go a couple years later, yes, it has that weird, I don't know, I think it's a kind of a mold. No, it's not. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's horrible. But we're going to get that all cleaned off and make this thing just beautified. The wheels are original with Ultegra, or no, sorry, 600 wheels, hubs, laced in with Mavic rims, which are, they look carbon at first glance, but actually they're hardened anodized rims back in the day. That was the thing of the thing back then. So in any case, we're going to make this thing pop, shine, shift, roll like new, and with the added features to it, elevated stem and bars and comfort contact points will make this bike actually a dream to ride, even though it's a classic of yesteryear. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me on this old bike, and we are going to dive into this, and I will do a part review once it's all cleaned up in the frame and see where we need to go from there. Check this out. All right, here we have it. 600 Shimano. You can see there's little chips in the actual tricolor, so you want to kind of preserve that. So we're going to do room temperature ultrasonic water. We're not going to do high temperature. We're not going to do any major solvents, or light and polite with a rag. And we're going to try to clean these up without actually doing a lot of aggressive cleaning, so therefore you can preserve all those decaling that you'll find all this. You got like barn fuzz on here, yeah, and some bird poop. So, you know, we're going to try to clean all that stuff up. Interesting 7-speed cassette. Crankset, I mean, these are the decals that totally would wipe off if you get aggressive with hot temperatures, so you want to keep that intact. So it's going to be light and polite for sure. And looking at the wheels with that barn fuzz, we're going to do some super scrubbing, cleaning. And you got the tricolor banner on the actual hub itself with the Mavic. Well, these are not ceramic. These are, what do they call that? Bit anodized, and it's an anodized hardened or hardened anodization, and you can see the flashing where the spoke tensions are. That was pretty common on these particular rims. They did those for about 5 or 6 years until they went to a whole different rim design, you know, like the Rolf wheels and so forth. Oh boy, there you go. Got more spray paint. Man, this thing was just like in direct fire of the spray can. Man, look at that. Barn fuzz. Oh boy, puts me back in the farm days. But man, look at this frame. Got some paint gonna have to clean up. The headset is a Shimano 600, believe it or not. Kind of stiff and chunky, so we're gonna take that all apart, clean it. The bearings and so forth, I will do the nuking on the ultrasonic cleaner, as well as this bottom bracket. If I can get this all pulled out, then I can really clean it up, inspect that internal area, make sure there's no rust. This is actually a steel frame, because you can tell right here where the paint's been rubbed off and there's some rust developing. There's a few chips, and you can definitely see the fading a little bit better now with the components and the wheels off. What really kind of indicated, it's like you show this paint, spray paint, then you got fluorescent orange, and then you can kind of see here where the fading is actually taking place. So you can kind of see the original orange versus the new faded, but although it actually is in pretty good shape. I mean, you know, the paint will come back to life. Do full detailing, made in USA. We're going to do these right here. We're going to do the Atom Scratch and Swirl compound polish. Once that's all done, using my Dremel tools and these pads, then we're going to apply the ceramic slam, which is a ceramic coating with the applicators here. What that is going to do is put a 2 or 3 stack on top of the cleaned, polished paint and give it that UV protection that it needed over all these years, where unfortunately it did not, but we'll save the rest of the orange for future use. And also adds a water barrier of any steel exposed areas, so you won't get additional rust. Also, it does a high bead content when it does get water on it and dirt, and it really, that protected layer actually helps shed all that gunk and dirt right off. So in any case, here we go. Let's get cracking. Time to crank some tunes, dive into this. Oh yeah, I got a new ultrasonic cleaner from Viva over there. So we're going to be cracking that open and giving it a good whirl and see what we got. Oh, let's get cranking. Well, there we have it. Oh man, beautiful Serotta, however you want to call it. It's an awesome bike. Yeah, checking out this Nova Special. Nice high-end steel. It feels not that light, but in any case, it is pretty decent for the time period and really good shape. And the paint, as you can see, is basically retina burning orange. And yeah, most of it is still pretty intact, a little faded, but not too bad. Detailing on it went really well. Did have to do a lot of cleaning to get all that old paint off of it, that was spray can paint from the garage or whatever. And that carried over onto the parts and the wheels and the hubs and the rims. So a lot of this elbow grease was dived into it to get it into the state it is now. And after I did all the polishing and correction as much as I can, added a whole bunch of ceramic coatings on the frame and fork. Also did the headset, took it all apart, cleaned the bearings, put it back together. It was kind of crunchy, so got that to be really smooth. The bottom bracket was pretty decent, it just needed to be adjusted. The wheels were actually in really great shape. The rear wheel just had some spoke tensions that were just too light. Needed to tighten those up a little bit. Hubs were good. The front was just a little loose. Yeah, it's, all the little things on it was pretty minor. I replaced the chain. It probably didn't need to per se, but it did have surface rust on it. So I wanted to make sure it had the best out of the gate experience possible. And the chain is pretty low lift compared. Also, it's wax, so it's going to give the new to them ride a little smoother, protect those componentry pieces that are pretty vintage, so you don't want them to wear out very fast. And it'll be an excellent recreational bike. Yes, it has the extension on the bars and so forth. That just basically makes it more of an endurance. And I did adjust it all the way high to do the cables and housing to accommodate that. So if they want to go lower and more compact, they can. They just want to be able to go the other direction and have that full range without having to switch out all the cables and the housing. Nobody wants to do that, and especially since it's all new, you don't want to have to redo it. In any case, this is definitely a stellar bike. Did upgrade the pedals that are on there. Some a little bit more, alloy cage construction, a little bit smoother, and put some American Classic bottle cages on there just to tie it up, just because. It's one of those bikes, it's a classic, and this thing is definitely going to be a conversation starter in any group ride or bike path or road ride experience. Reason being, well, look at the color. Come on. It just screams, look at me. And second, there's a story behind Serotta, and people know, if they've been in the cycling industry for a while, they know it's in one of those brands that are currently still around and also made some really nice bikes in the day. And this does date back to either early 90s or late 80s, especially with the paint job. And for the paint, where it was chipped and so forth, I did clean out those areas as much as I can to eliminate the rust, in addition to with that ceramic coating that will build up that waterproof barrier to prevent more rust from happening. And since we're in Colorado where it's a lot arid here, the rust doesn't really happen as bad than it would be if you were like in a more damp, wet climate. So therefore, this bike will hold up really well for years to come. Years. And it's a good 30-plus-year-old bike, and it can be ridden another 30 years. I can almost guarantee you, if kept up and tuned and lubed, I'm sure it'll hold up just fine. Granted, there'll be some parts that need to replace, like the tires were dry rotted on the old ones. New bar tape because you just needed to. And the saddle was replaced as well. But other than that, that was kind of like your dry out environment bits. Everything else is pretty solid. I was actually really amazed because underneath that farm shed fuzz, I grew up on a farm, so you had like this weird cakey fuzz stuff that just embarks everything for some reason. And it just was on all the componentry. It cleaned off amazing. Got a brand new ultrasonic cleaner with a more of a professional grade. That damn thing just stripped all that crap off really quickly and also maintained the stickers, which I was really happy with because I wanted to make sure I was really light and polite on it, because those particular stickers, they don't really hold up well under extra heat or extra degreasers because it just kind of peels right off. So light and polite, and I was able to maintain and keep all those. I didn't compromise any of the stickers at all whatsoever by stripping the old, like the spray can paint or anything like that. Turned out great. I was just shocked and amazed I was able to pull that off without any any damage of any decaling anyway. Structurally, it is sound. Took it for a couple rides, very smooth. Got some new bar tape on there, super comfy and cush. It has more of that upper position like the enduro bikes are of today. So basically, I took a classic racer and made it more of a enduro fit. It handles great. It does have 23C tires on it. If the rider wants to be something a little more plush or posh, you can go to a 25, maybe a 28 even, and knock that pressure down to like 80 or 90 PSI, and it'll give you more of that supple ride. And the steel frame itself, I ride quite a few different steel frames over the years, and now I have a pop rod from Le Mans, which is an awesome gravel bike. That particular bike did really good for me and still does today. A classic steel like this will do you as well. So don't have to shy away from a used one like this. If it's in decent shape, you can put some money into it and put some good parts, and before you know it, you'll have a really decent, nice ride. So in any case, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. There'll be other details in the description below. Some beautiful pictures as well to follow. And I look forward to seeing this back in the shop to be worked on after the riders put some miles on it. This is definitely an awesome experience. And yeah, and again, thank you, because it makes this channel what it is today, and I appreciate it. So welcome to the life of a bike mechanic, and this old bike, this is a classic one. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me. This is nice in your neck of the woods. Please go for a ride. If you have any stories about bikes like this, similar to Serotta or what have you, please comment below. It is a community we love to share here. So in any case, until then, I'll leave you on that note. Until the next bike, soon to come. Well, that concludes this episode of This Old Bike. Thank you for tuning in and watching through the final reveal of the perfect bike for you. Maybe, maybe not. But in any case, I hope you learned some things along the way in the journey of a bike mechanic refurbishing these particular beautiful gems of the past, which are very relevant of today. Thanks for tuning in, and you will find other videos like these. Go ahead and click here to enjoy more refurbished, detailed bikes that are from the past.